Let's go to my last subject before I go to break, and that's involving Tom Brady. Because just yesterday, Tom Brady, the great Tom Brady, the 7-time Super Bowl champion that is Tom Brady, the now retired Tom Brady, blessed us with his presence by coming on to this show. And while he was here, he had some very interesting things to say about the state of the National Football League. If you don't believe me, take a listen right here.
I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. Yeah. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not? Why not?
I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. Mm-hmm. So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been. I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott and guys that impacted the game in a certain way, and every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily, why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to a defensive player to protect the offensive player. A defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Wow. I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because you knock him out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose a good player.
Really appreciate the signs that Tom Brady dropped on this show just yesterday, because you hear a lot of people muttering about stuff like that, but you don't hear somebody come out and articulate that message in that kind of profound fashion. Give Tom Brady a lot of credit for doing that, because obviously those comments made major headlines all across the country. So much so that my buddy on my day job, First Take on ESPN, my buddy Jeff Saturday, former head coach in Indy, obviously former player in the National Football League, now an analyst on ESPN yet again, he was on First Take on ESPN this morning reacting to that very sound. And listen to what Jeff Saturday had to say, because this is interesting as well as to why Tom Brady said what he said and what point needs to be peeled from all of that. Take a listen.
Ownership, almost to every owner, they want offense. They understand what sells tickets, right? And I remember going to the Rams Patriots Super Bowl. And if y'all remember, like, Bill Belichick put this, like, plan on McVay, couldn't figure 6 defensive linemen, they're coming from everywhere, right? And limited, like, the second greatest show on turf or whatever it was for McVay and these guys. And everybody's like, oh, it's a miserable Super Bowl. They only scored, 20-something points. Yeah. That was a great game for me. I'm in the stands watching. I was like, man, this is a great football game. Let me tell you something. All my kids and my wife, they're ready to go, man. Halftime, they're like, let's go do something fun. Owners understand what keeps butts in the seats, and that's points.
A great point.
It's absolutely a great point. Absolutely a great point by Jeff Saturday, because it really comes down to the dollars and cents. These are owners that we're talking about in the National Football League, the Board of Governors, the folks that assist in making sure that the rules and regulations facilitate good business. One of the things that I mentioned repeatedly, particularly when I'm on a lecture circuit, to kids everywhere, college students everywhere, is I don't care what you're majoring in. If you ain't majoring in it, make sure you minor in business. Follow the dollars. Follow the dollars. We're talking about folks cutting all over the place, laying folks off, making cuts, folks in the job market wondering what their future entails, etc. Why is that? Because the corporations, the industries, the businesses that they work for are trying to make a buck. And sometimes you got to streamline, you got to cut costs. You got to make sure you have a budget and you project what you're going to make. And if it's not meeting those stipulations, if it's not meeting those mandates, you got to make change. The NFL is no different. Remember when Colin Kaepernick was making noise years ago? And everybody was talking about he should play, he should play, he should play. You're talking about a National Football League rife with owners who pocketed at the time, per owner, $246 million in change from the TV rights deal. And they were still complaining about $8 to $10 million that Colin Kaepernick had cost them. So what do you think they're going to do if people are sitting there and they're saying we're turned off by the inordinate amount of violence, we're turned off by the injuries, we're turned off by the absence of star power because everybody's on the injured list, etc. What the hell do you think they're going to do? They're going to implement rules and regulations to do whatever they can to ensure that the audience, the paying customer, gets what they want to see so they can ensure that their wallets are still padded at all times. At all times. It's not just about gambling. It's not just about sports betting that is taking place. Prize Picks, FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN Bets, the list goes on and on. It's not just about them. It's about the paying customer and the product that they're looking at, how attractive it is to that paying customer. Does it just appeal to the dudes, or does it appeal to the wives? Does it just appeal to the dudes and the wives, or does it appeal to the children? That's what it's all about. And if they think they've come up with a way to make sure that the paying customer is lured in and will continue to patronize their product, their brand, they're going to implement those rules and regulations to facilitate that happening. It's all about business. I'm not telling you something you don't know. I just know that when it comes to the games, you don't think about the business nearly as much as you should. Because if you did think about it to that degree, you wouldn't be sweating the rules and regulations that have been implemented, that in some people's eyes have compromised the toughness that once existed in the game. They want people on the field, so the paying customer won't decide to take their dollars elsewhere. Whether it be in person, outside of the tailgate party, at a sports bar down the block, or in your home watching it on their Sunday Ticket on YouTube and beyond. This is what it is. This is the real world. Get with it, or find something else to watch.